I unveiled my CEO husband's affair, total chaos. His millions crushed in hours. The sun sank behind the skyline, casting an ominous shadow over the glassy towers of the city. Inside the penthouse, Lena's heart raced. She stumbled onto something she never expected: her husband, the powerful CEO, tangled in a web of betrayal. The room felt suffocating as she clicked through the emails, each word slashing at her like a knife. The truth was out. His secret affair with a woman half her age had spiraled into a scandal that crushed his empire overnight. That it wasn't just the infidelity that rattled her. It was the sheer bizarre synchronicity of events that day. Just hours after Lena found the damning evidence, a major financial crisis hit, sending their lives into a tailspin. Markets reacted violently, stocks plummeted, and suddenly, the lavish lifestyle they built teetered on the edge of disaster. As she watched the numbers drop, her chest tightened. Chaos erupted around her, phone calls bombarding her like a rapid-fire drumbeat, each one worse than the last. The door swung open. George, her husband's business partner, burst in, breathless, eyes wide with panic. "Lena, we need to talk. The board is in an uproar," he exclaimed. "They think this will destroy everything we've built." She could hardly process his words. The shock of betrayal mixed with fear for their future was overwhelming. Silence hung thick, suffocating. She felt the weight of those moments, the sinking feeling in her stomach, the lump in her throat, and the trembling hands that clutched the edge of the table. Just then, a thought hit her like a thunderbolt. What if this chaos was premeditated? Could her husband's affair and the sudden downfall be connected? Her mind raced with possibilities, each more mind-bending than the last. Eyes darting to the stock ticker on the wall, she whispered, "Could he have been sabotaging his own company?" "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect." Her breath hitched at the thought, and she could see George's expression mirror her own growing suspicion. The stakes had risen higher than ever, and now they were caught in a dangerous game with no rules. The city around them felt alive with whispers of betrayal and scandal. What secrets lay hidden in the shadows? Would they uncover the truth before it was too late? The weight of uncertainty lingered, leaving Lena with a terrifying question. Was it all part of a larger trap, or just the beginning of her ultimate revenge? Lena's heart thundered in her chest as George's words lingered in the air, heavy and charged. She could feel the walls closing in, the sleek modern decor of the penthouse suddenly feeling like a prison. Her mind raced with the implications of what they were facing. "George, we need to figure this out," she insisted, urgency dripping from her voice. He shook his head, his brows furrowed in deep concentration. "If the board thinks this is a scandal, it could lead to a gray market for declarations. Investors will flee. We're talking about his entire legacy crumbling," he said, each word laced with dread. The urgency of their situation pressed upon Lena, but what gripped her more was the feeling of betrayal. This wasn't just about the business anymore. It was personal. How could he betray her like this? "Do you think he had a part in this?" she whispered, though the question felt like poison on her tongue. George looked at her, a flicker of hesitation crossing his features. "I don't know, Lena, but we can't rule anything out right now." The weight of unspoken truths settled like a thick fog. Suddenly, Lena felt a prickling at the back of her mind. Memories of her husband's late-night meetings, phone calls shrouded in secrecy, took on a new light. What if this was all a setup? What if he orchestrated his downfall? George's eyes darkened. "You can't be serious." But she was. Could she have been blind this whole time? The glitzy dinners, the luxurious vacations, they all felt tainted now. Each laugh shared felt fake, a mask hiding the rotting core of betrayal. "He wanted to destroy everything," she muttered, feeling the wind of revolution blowing through her veins. The phone rang again, jolting her from her thoughts. The sound echoed ominously in the silence that followed George's revelation. She glanced at George, who nodded toward the screen. It was Mark, her husband's right-hand man, calling with a forced calmness that sent shivers down her spine. Lena, we need to meet. There's something you have to know. Her mind raced. There was something hidden there, something Mark wasn't telling them. What could he possibly reveal that would shake their world even more? What about? She asked carefully, almost afraid to hear the answer. There are files. Evidence that could change everything, he said. Meet me at the office. Please. The urgency in his voice was a hook. A part of her felt drawn to it, while another churned with anxiety. Fine, she replied, her voice steadier than she felt. She looked at George as she ended the call. We need to go. Now. They hurried down the elevator, the tension palpable between them. Lena could see the city through the glass doors. The vibrant lights now felt mocking. Uncertainty hung thick in the air, each siren and honk amplifying her panic. What other dirty secrets could be lurking beneath the surface? She couldn't shake the feeling that the answers were closer than she realized. But at what cost? As they reached the office building, Lena's grip tightened around her phone. We need to be on our guard, George. Whatever Mark has, it's going to entangle us even further. He nodded, determination hardening his features. Whatever it is, we face it together. Stepping into the brightly lit lobby, Lena could feel a cold sweat breaking on her brow. The stakes had never been higher, and the illusions of her perfect life crumbled around her. Would the truth they were seeking bring clarity, or would it drag them deeper into a pit of deceit and confusion? With every step towards the conference room, the weight of destiny loomed over her. She felt that she was on the precipice of something monumental, an annihilation or a rebirth. As they entered, Mark was waiting, his expression unreadable. You both need to see this. What lay ahead threatened to shatter what little remained of her world. What would she discover that evening? Betrayal or redemption? Lena stepped into the conference room, her heart racing like a freight train. The fluorescent lights buzzed above, an unwelcome reminder of the stark reality crashing down around her. Mark stood at the end of the long, glossy table, the air between them thick with secrets. Thank you for coming, he said, but his voice felt rehearsed, lacking genuine warmth. Just tell us what you know, Mark, George interjected, impatience creeping into his tone. Lena felt a weight pressing down on her chest. She needed to know, yet dreaded the answers lurking just beyond the horizon. Mark reached for a flash drive on the table and hesitated. It was a small, unassuming piece of plastic, yet it held the potential to unravel their lives. This contains everything. Emails, financial records, details of transactions, it's all here. I've found discrepancies that can't just be ignored. Lena took a step forward, her pulse quickening. What do you mean? Discrepancies in what? He took a deep breath, his expression shifting into something akin to regret. The board isn't just worried about a scandal. It's much worse. I think your husband has been involved in something far more serious. Fraud. The word hung in the air, electrifying the space between them. Lena's blood ran cold. Fraud? Are you saying he? Yes, Mark interrupted sharply. And it's not just that. He has been manipulating assets, siphoning funds into offshore accounts for who knows what. But it could destroy everything. Lena felt as if the ground had vanished beneath her. Images of her life with David flashed through her mind, once a shimmering tapestry of love and commitment, now a tangled web of deceit. Why didn't you tell me sooner? She demanded, her voice trembling with anger and betrayal. I was trying to protect you, Mark shot back. But when I saw the board's reactions, I realized I had to act. I didn't think he'd go this far. Protect me? She spat. By keeping secrets? By letting me walk into this blind? Mark's eyes widened. You don't understand. If this gets out, it'll ruin not just him, but everyone connected, including you. Trust me, it's bigger than you think. Lena glanced at George, who stood silently, clenching his fists. She felt the walls closing in once more, suffocating her with fear and rage. So what do we do? He asked, breaking the tense silence. Mark's expression hardened. We need a plan. First, we analyze the files. Then, we confront him before any official actions are taken. But no matter what happens, we must be prepared for the fallout. Lena nodded, spurred on by a dangerous cocktail of adrenaline and dread. The weight of Mark's revelations sat heavily on her shoulders. Her phone buzzed violently, startling her. She reached for it, heart thudding in her chest. The message was from David. We need to talk. Now. Shit, she muttered under her breath. The urgency in his words sent a chill through her bones. What is it? George asked, face taut with concern. It's David, she replied, her face paling. He wants to meet. I don't think he knows I'm onto him yet. Breath hitching, she turned towards Mark. He'll find out if we don't act quickly. This is our chance to expose him before he has the chance to cover it all up. Are you sure you're ready for this? George asked, his eyes searching hers for certainty. Lena felt the gravity of her reality. Nothing would ever be the same. I don't have a choice, she replied, determination boiling within her. I'm going to confront him and uncover the truth, no matter what it costs. With that, she felt a fire ignite deep within. She had to do this, not just for herself, but for everything she believed in. As they prepared to leave, the door swung open. David stood there, a dark shadow with eyes full of secrets. Why are you two here? He demanded, his voice icy and accusatory. In that moment, Lena realized the gravity of their impending confrontation. What lay ahead could shatter her completely or lead to a revelation that would change everything. Would she be prepared to face him and the truth he harbored? Lena's heart raced uncontrollably as David stepped into the room, his presence instantly consuming the air around them. The confident swagger she loved was replaced by a jagged edge, a sliver of something darker than she'd ever noticed before. What is going on? He repeated, his eyes snapping between Lena and Mark, demanding answers. Mark opened his mouth, but Lena cut him off, steeling herself against the tidal wave of emotions threatening to break her apart. David, she said, forcing calm into her voice, we need to talk about your business dealings. His mouth twitched slightly, a smile that didn't reach his eyes. My business? What about them? Every muscle in Lena's body tightened. It was now or never. I know what you've been up to, she asserted, each word slicing through the tension. The fraud, the offshore accounts. I won't let it slide anymore. The air around them felt charged. For a long moment, silence stretched, the kind that gnawed at you from the inside. Then, David's expression transformed, his amusement fading. Fraud? What are you talking about? He replied, voice dipped in condescension. Lena pressed on, fueled by panic and clarity. Mark has evidence. You can't keep dodging this. It's over. David's eyes darkened. In that split second, Lena's stomach twisted. She saw him processing her words, removing the mask of charm and revealing an unsettling truth underneath. You think you can just threaten me? He hissed, low and dangerous. Threaten? No. I simply won't be your pawn anymore. She stepped forward, acknowledging the disbelief in Mark's eyes while holding her ground. With a scoff, David took a step back, as if her words physically repelled him. You're bluffing, Lena. You wouldn't dare go against me. His voice was laced with a chilling certainty. Watch me, she shot back, surprising even herself with the confidence lacing her words. Behind David, the fluorescent lights flickered, dimming as if the universe itself was holding its breath. It felt surreal, like they were characters in some twisted drama she'd never signed up for. And yet, here she was, caught squarely in an unsettling tableau of power and betrayal. Do you really think anyone will believe you? David sneered, taking a menacing step closer. I built this company. I'm the one in control. You? You're just my wife. Just your wife? The words escaped gently, like a whisper carried by a gust of wind, yet they clanged in the room like a heavy bell. No more. I'm not just your wife. I've lived in the shadow of your lies for too long. David's expression darkened. You'll regret this, he said, the threat unspoken, but palpable. Lena trembled slightly, but held her ground, burning with a newfound resolve. I will bring this to light, David, and I won't let you destroy any more lives. He laughed, a cold, hollow sound that sent a shiver through her bones. You think you hold the cards? You'll see. You've crossed a line you can't come back from. Mark intervened, stepping in front of Lena, sensing the danger looming. David, this isn't just about you anymore. You don't understand what you're risking. David's eyes narrowed, scanning Mark with disdain. Stay out of this, Mark. You're just as compromised. You think I don't know what you've been up to? Lena flinched. The dynamic shifted in an instant, unexpected tension crackling between the men. Mark straightened, pulse quickening visibly. You might want to reconsider your approach, he warned, voice steady yet edged with tension. For what? To save your pathetic careers? David glared, flipping the mood from confidence to menace in an instant. The control he so desperately clung to morphed into a desperate frustration that threatened to boil over. Lena squeezed her eyes shut for one heartbeat, feeling the gravity of the moment close in as fear washed over her. Could she withstand the man she thought she knew? Then she looked up, determination hardening her gaze. "You don't scare me anymore." The declaration bounced off walls that felt like they were closing in. In a heartbeat, David lunged forward, eyes wild with rage. "You will pay for this," he spat, a low growl that echoed in her bones. But before he could reach her, Lena felt a surge of instinctive strength. "This isn't just about you anymore," she shouted, her voice ringing. As the door swung open again, the board members filtered in, heads exchanging puzzled glances, confusion rippling through them. As they stepped into the chaotic scene, Lena wondered if this was the moment that would truly shatter David's carefully curated facade, or plunge them all into deeper turmoil. What was about to unfold would change everything, and in the back of her mind, one question loomed larger than the rest. Would she find the truth she needed, or lose everything she held dear in the process? The board members halted, their expressions morphing from confusion to shock. Lena felt the tension electrify the room, as if they were all trapped in a high-stakes game, and David held the volatile cards. "What is happening here?" One of the board members, a nervous-looking man named Ted, asked, his voice wavering slightly. Lena could see fear flicker behind his eyes. The uncertainty hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. "Let us not sugarcoat this," Mark said, cutting through the chatter. "David's been running a shady operation. We have evidence." He took a firm stance, ready to back Lena up. David's gaze swung to Mark, fury pooling in his eyes. "Is that what you think? You think you can just waltz in here, make baseless accusations, and everything would just fall into place?" His voice dripped with contempt. The room grew colder, predatory. Lena could almost hear the clock ticking, each second heightening the simmering tension. The board members exchanged anxious looks, processing the weight of Mark's words and the volatility of David's mood. "Are you really going to let this play out?" David's voice was a low growl, an attempt to regain control. "You don't know what you're dealing with. This could ruin everything. And for what? Some fabricated betrayal?" "Fabricated?" Lena shot back, her heart pounding in her chest. "You're the one who has built this entire empire on lies, David. I refuse to be a bystander anymore, waiting for the truth to eat us alive." "Enough," David roared, and the walls felt like they were shaking with his fury. "You are out of your depth, Lena. Do you think they'll believe you over me?" The board members shuffled uncomfortably. The flickering lights overhead resumed their incessant hum, as if mocking the chaos unfolding beneath them. Lena thought of the countless nights she turned a blind eye, convincing herself that the person she loved was still there. But now, with every word spoken, that person slipped further away, replaced by the monster hidden in plain sight. "Maybe not," Mark said, taking a steady breath, "but they will believe that, given the evidence I have. This isn't going away, David. You need to understand that." His voice carried a sense of resolve. "Evidence." The word rolled off David's tongue like ice. He stared down Mark, his intent clear. "If you show them that, I will bury you both. Do you understand? Your careers, your lives, they will be over. I will make sure of it." Lena felt her blood run cold as she met David's gaze. It was chilling, each word laced with venom. It tugged at something primal inside her. The urgency drove her forward. "You can't intimidate us anymore," she said, voice ringing clear. "We have a choice today, and we will choose the truth." Behind her, the board members exchanged glances. Was this what they wanted to be associated with? Was it possible that Lena had finally crossed the line from silent partner to adversary? A worried murmur rippled through the group. "David, you need to consider the implications of this blow-up. This could destroy everything we've built. Everyone's reputation is at stake here," said a woman with silver hair. Her voice, tinged with hesitation, pointed to the gravity of the situation. David's smile was a sharp, icy twist of lips. "This is not just a business matter, it's personal." His eyes burned with something dark, a harbinger of violence, barely contained. Lena's chest tightened. The air felt thick with deceit, and she could almost sense the fragile threads knitting her future together unraveling in that moment. David stepped closer, invading her space, his voice dropping to a whisper. You will regret this, Lena. Trust me. But Lena held her ground, heart racing, pulsing with defiance. It was now or never. Maybe I will, David, she said, her voice steady, but I'd rather regret standing up for the truth than living in the shadows of your lies. Silence enveloped the room, thick enough to slice through. David's eyes flickered, caught between fury and disbelief, the flames creeping dangerously close to consuming him whole. And then, just as the tension reached its peak, the fire alarm blared, shattering the moment into chaos. The shrill sound echoed off the walls, and panic surged through the board members. They began to scramble toward the exits, their faces pale. Lena, caught off guard, glanced back at David, now a tiger cornered. This wasn't just about the business anymore. It was about survival. As the chaos unfolded, she felt the ground beneath her shift. What would happen in the aftermath of this disaster? With the building buzzing with alarm, one question loomed larger than the blaring sound. Could she escape the web of lies, or had she just entered an even more dangerous game? The room transformed into a scene of pandemonium. Board members crashed into each other, all trying to reach the exits at once. Their collective fear was palpable, like a thick fog hanging in the air. Lena felt her heart racing, every beat echoing with urgency. The fire alarm's shrill cry was less an alarm and more a harbinger of chaos unleashed. Stay calm, Mark shouted, trying to navigate through the frantic crowd. Yet his voice was lost in the cacophony of panic and confusion. Lena's instincts kicked in, a wildfire of adrenaline igniting her senses. She had to get David out of this room before he did something desperate. But David stood frozen for a moment, a statue of fury amidst the storm. His eyes were wild, darting between the frantic throng and Lena, who dared not leave him alone. Quit playing hero, he barked, a vicious hiss escaping his lips. Get out while you can. Ignoring him, she reached out, her hand brushing against his arm. We need to go now, before this gets out of hand. And what? David scoffed, the fire in his eyes flaring brighter. Run away like a coward? Chaos spun around them, the air thick with smoke, although it was likely just the panic creeping in. The fire alarm blared incessantly, unyielding, mocking the dissent in the room. Lena caught glimpses of the board members stumbling out, their faces white, fear taking charge. Were they really going to leave her behind? Without thinking, Lena tugged on David's arm. Come on, we can fight this together, but we need to get out first. This place isn't safe. His gaze darkened, touching on something deeper, something sinister. You think I'm about to let you drag me outside while my entire empire crumbles? You'll regret ever crossing me. A wild sense of dread curled in her stomach. The realization that he might do something reckless was enough to propel her forward. David, please. But as they argued, a sudden, shuddering explosion rattled the building. The sound was akin to thunder, reverberating through the walls. It briefly overshadowed the shrieking alarm, sending everyone ducking for cover. The board members screamed, clutching at each other as they tumbled toward the emergency exits. The flicker of panic surged through Lena when she glanced at one of the nearby windows, glass splintering from a distant blast. Was this part of David's desperate plan? Lena, Mark yelled, his voice laced with urgency as he pushed through the crowd toward them. We have to move. Now. David clenched his fists, still wrestling with his rage and paranoia, the fight radiating off him like heat from a furnace. Do you understand what's at stake? He seethed, his jaw tensed. Lena took a deep breath, her mind racing. It's already happening, David. If we don't get out, you'll lose everything you've built, everything we've built. In that moment, she saw it briefly, a flicker of realization behind his anger. The look of a man standing on the precipice of losing control, balancing the scales of everything he had crafted, with the choice of truth hanging heavy in the air. Before chaos could claim more innocence, Lena grabbed his hand, resolute despite the trembling in her limbs. Let us make it out before it's too late. As she pulled him towards the exit, she sensed the fire of David's desperation, the shadows of his empire collapsing in around them. But they were caught in a terrifying whirlwind now, and Lena knew the danger didn't just lie in the flames threatening to engulf them, it lingered in the man at her side. Just outside the exit, she felt a pulse of foreboding resonate through her. The real fight was far from over. David's fury would have consequences that didn't he end with this chaotic escape. What plan lurked behind his cold gaze? And what would he unleash when the smoke finally cleared? With every step into the unknown, she was seized by one undeniable truth. They were in too deep, and the next move was everything. Would it rip them apart or bind them together in this dance with disaster? As they barreled out through the emergency exit, fresh air and dim sunlight hit Lena like a wave of relief. Yet, even in that moment of freedom, anxiety clawed at her. David's grip on her hand was firm, but his face betrayed a storm brewing inside him. Filled with rage and confusion, crowds of panicked employees filled the parking lot, some crying, others shouting for loved ones. A few staunch fellas were gathering around to chant something about the company roster and taking pictures on their phones, seemingly unaware of the danger that had just unfolded. She glanced at Mark, who was pleading with a few stragglers, urging them to keep moving. "What is happening?" Lena shouted, trying to drown out the din. "Looks like a bomb scare." Mark shouted back, eyes wide with terror. "They're checking the building." Lena's heart raced again. How close had they just come to being caught in the blast? She turned back to David, whose furious expression hadn't faded. He pulled his hand away, and the distance felt like a canyon formed between them. "We need to find somewhere safe," she urged, unable to shake the dread gnawing at her. His laugh was bitter. "Safe? You think anywhere is safe right now?" Lena felt her stomach twist. "Focus, David. Please." She scanned the area, looking for a way to truly escape this madness. "We shouldn't be here. Let us find somewhere to talk." "Talk?" He took a menacing step closer, his eyes narrowing. "While my world is collapsing. While they see me as a monster. You really don't get it, do you? I want to hide while they defame everything I built." People around them began to hear David's words. A few threw worried glances, whispering among themselves, judging. The discomfort weighed heavy. Lena could feel eyes boring into their backs, like predators waiting for the right moment to strike. "David, we can't, but you dragged me out. You saved me," he hissed, bitterness lacing his tone. "And now everyone will know what you did." "What are you talking about?" Her voice shook, anxiety crackling in her veins. "They'll see you as a traitor, and I'll take you down with me. You don't understand who you're dealing with." A crack of thunder sliced through the chaos, and shouts erupted when the first responders arrived. Red and blue lights flashed nearby, lighting up faces in panic and casting long shadows. Lena's breath hitched. David's fury felt like fire, but now it was mingling with something more terrifying: desperation. Mark grabbed her arm, pulling her back slightly. "We need to go. Now." But David just stood there, the storm raging in his eyes. Before she could interject, he turned on his heel, marching toward the gathering crowd. "I'll show them what true power looks like. You have no idea what I'm capable of." "David, wait!" Lena cried, lunging forward but stopping in fear as she witnessed him break away from her reach. Her chest tightened as he fused into the milling crowd, his figure a dark silhouette against the flashing lights. "Lena, this isn't over." She stood frozen. Mark's grip tightened on her arm, and she felt the weight of 1,000 eyes upon her, judging her. "Let him go," Mark urged, glancing back at David, who was now lost amidst shouts and confusion. "He needs help, not confrontation. We have to think rationally." "Rational?" She shot back, frantic. "What if he goes after someone? What if he does something that can't be undone? Then we need to anticipate his next move. He's angry, and with someone like him, anger can mean anything. We need to dig deep, figure out what he is capable of before it's too late." Lena knew he was right, but the gravity of their situation was suffocating. Could David be capable of something unforgivable? As she stared into the uproarious crowd, uncertainty twisted within her. If he fell deeper into the dark, he might take everything and everyone down with him. As they hurried away, a thought struck her like lightning. What if the real danger wasn't the chaos unfolding around her, but the secrets David hid close to his heart? In that instant, tangled in fear and urgency, she made a decision, one that would lead her straight into the heart of darkness she hoped to unveil, but at what cost? Lena's heart hammered against her chest as she and Mark weaved through the frantic crowd. The bright emergency lights flickered, a strobe to the growing dread inside her. She kept glancing back toward the throng, desperate to catch a glimpse of David. He could be anywhere, and the thought of what might unfold sent chills down her spine. Where do we go? Mark shouted, trying to be heard over the cacophony of sirens and frantic voices. Anywhere but here. We need to find a place to regroup where he won't track us. They moved towards the far edge of the parking lot, ducking behind a row of parked cars. She could feel the weight of Mark's anxious gaze on her, urging her to say something, anything to ease the tension. But words were stuck in her throat. The chaos swirled like a storm, and she was the eye of it, paralyzed by the possibilities of what David could do. Will he really turn against you? Mark asked, eyes wide with concern. I mean, how far is he willing to go? I don't know, Lena said, her voice cracking. He's scared and hurt, but that kind of rage, it's like nothing I've seen before. She pulled in a shaky breath, flinching as she recalled his expression moments ago, the raw agony masked by fury. Mark's expression shifted from concern to resolve. We have to figure out who else is involved. There's got to be more to this than him just losing it. Someone must have pushed him to it. Lena nodded, her mind racing. Just before the chaos broke, David had been acting strange, secretive. Phone calls that he brushed off as business. Late nights and unexplainable absences. A pit formed in her stomach. Could it all connect back to his recent decisions that everyone seemed to question? He said something about being defamed. Maybe it's more than just the bomb scare. Maybe there are real threats lurking behind the curtain. Mark's brows drew together. Let us find somewhere we can access his office. A flash of panic coursed through her. His office? What if he is still there? What if he is waiting? Then we'll know what we're up against, Mark replied, stepping further into the shadows. They sneaked toward the entrance. The smell of smoke hung heavy in the air, blending with the eeriness of a quick evacuation, while the hum of anxiety never ceased, gripping her tightly. As they slipped in through the main lobby, it felt like stepping into another world. Here, the walls seemed to close in under the stranglehold of fear. The normally bustling office environment echoed with silence, an unsettling contrast to the chaos just outside. Down the hallway, it's the second door to the left, Lena whispered, her heart thudding every step they took. As they reached the office door, she hesitated. What if they didn't find the answers they needed? What if David was capable of something beyond their understanding? Mark, aren't you curious? He urged softly. About what he is hiding? About the people close to him? Lena flinched but nodded, thoughts spiraling with each heartbeat. She turned the handle slowly, the door creaking open, suspense hanging in the air like a heavy weight. The office was dark, save for a slant of light pooling on a desk cluttered with papers and half-empty coffee cups. Her pulse quickened as she stepped inside. Her eyes darted around, searching for anything that could reveal David's hidden secrets. Mark scanned the desk and the walls. Look, he pointed to a stack of documents, their edges fraying, hastily filed. This could be something. Before she could reply, the distant echo of a heavy footfall shattered the stillness. They both froze, hearts pounding in unison. Lena, Mark, is that you? A voice called from beyond the doorway, thick with familiarity. It sent them both into action. They ducked into the shadows, just as the door swung open, revealing David, breathless and wild-eyed. What are you doing here? His voice was like ice. The world around them shifted. Lena held her breath, knowing now, more than ever, they had crossed a line they could never uncross. What secrets were buried in the files that lay scattered across the desk? And what would David do now that he realized they had ventured into his domain? David's penetrating gaze swept the room, clearly searching for answers. Lena felt a shiver crawl up her spine as she pressed her back against the wall, wishing for the floor to swallow her whole. David, Mark began, but Lena cut him off with a sharp glance. This wasn't the time for explanations. They needed to remain hidden. Don't lie to me, David snapped, his voice low, simmering with rage. The door hung ajar, revealing the chaos outside, and the weight of it pressed on Lena's chest. She could hear distant shouts and sirens, but in that moment, all she could focus on was David's palpable fury. She wished she could just reach out and shake him back to sanity. What are you hiding? David continued, taking a step into the room. Why are you really here? Lena's heart raced. It was a question that slammed into her like a wall. Did he know something? The thought sent a fresh wave of fear through her. They had to figure out why he was acting this way. Anger had consumed him, and it was frighteningly clear that no one was safe. Mark whispered, we need evidence against him. Something that proves there's more to this. If he is not the one behind it, We might be able to keep him out of jail, out of a spiral we can't bring back. Yeah, and if he is? Lena murmured, panic rising. She gestured to the file cabinet nearby. We'll find something if he is hiding it. It means there is something he doesn't want us to see. David's voice broke through her thoughts. Stop messing around in my office. He moved closer, and Lena recognized the dangerous edge in his tone. It was as if he could sense the truth looming just out of his reach. A truth hidden behind closed doors. As David rifled through papers on the desk, the intensity of the moment felt suffocating. Lena's hands trembled as she clutched Mark's arm tightly, each pulse echoing with the urgency of their situation. Then, in a flash, David's eyes landed on the stack of documents Mark had pointed to. What is this? He muttered, snatching them up. Lena felt a sickening twist in her stomach. They had to act. Mark now? She whispered urgently, eyes darting. But she knew they had to wait just a moment longer. The quiet before the storm was almost unbearable. David began rifling through the documents, his face transforming in shock and confusion. Who gave you this? He hissed, gripping a paper tightly, palm growing pale around it. You shouldn't have this. Lena held her breath, the silence in the room stretching painfully as questions hung heavy. What could be in those papers? What dark web of deceit was David entangled in? Stop. We can talk, Mark said, stepping forward, trying to diffuse the situation. But it only fueled David's fury. He pushed the papers aside and turned to them, eyes blazing. Talk. You invaded my space and expect me to talk? He was on the edge now, shadows of desperation clouding his features. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed outside, cutting through the tension. The sound of shattering glass filled the air, followed by a collective gasp from those still evacuated. The chaos outside had escalated, and Lena felt the ground beneath her tremble. We have to go? Mark said, eyes wide. If this gets messy, we want to have a chance to escape. But where would they run to? Every exit felt like a trap. Panic nibbled at the edges of Lena's mind, but there was still a flicker of defiance deep within her. I'm not leaving without knowing the whole truth, she said, staring hard at David. What are you hiding from us? It was the hook she desperately needed to reel him in, to uncover the nexus of lies holding him captive. Her voice steady, she watched the calculations flicker across his face. Tell me, David, she pressed. For a moment, time stood still. David's breath hitched, and the weight of his hesitation hung in the air like a guillotine blade ready to fall. But just as he opened his mouth to respond, the silence exploded again, the heavy thunder of the approaching police, panic-driven whispers, and screams flooding their sanctuary. Lena's world collapsed into chaos once more. But this time, she wasn't running. What truth had David been hiding that could shatter their lives? And would she survive the storm unscathed? Lena stood firm, determination coursing through her veins. The walls of the office felt like closing tombstones, each tick of the clock amplifying the imminent storm looming outside. Tension buzzed in the air as David's eyes darkened, his expression a whirlwind of rage and confusion. Let us talk about the truth, she challenged, her voice steady despite the quaking in her heart. What truth? David sneered, his facade cracking under pressure. You don't know a damn thing. Lena's mind raced. That you've been manipulating funds, sinking this whole company into the abyss while holding everything over our heads. A moment of silence stretched, David's breath hitching as he processed her words. She was cutting through layers of anger, hitting something beneath the fury, the fear of exposure. Manipulating? He echoed, disbelief tangled with menace. You think you can just waltz in here and throw around accusations? Behind her, Mark shifted, eyes darting to the papers strewn across the desk. This isn't just a business matter, David, he interjected, stepping closer as though to shield Lena. You have to face the truth before it consumes you. It already has. Lena's heart pounded as she locked eyes with David, desperate to reach him through the chaos. They're ready to believe me, and they believe Mark too. You can't hide behind your lies anymore. Suddenly, the facade flickered. She saw a crack in David's icy armor. You wouldn't dare, he warned, but the tremor in his voice betrayed him, the facade of control slipping. Just outside, she could hear the sirens crescendoing, the chaos spilling over from the parking lot. The tension was electric, suffocating. You're not the powerful CEO you think you are, she pushed, her voice rising. Your empire is built on lies, and it's crumbling. Now the world knows it. He laughed, but it was hollow, almost desperate. You think they care about the truth? They care about profits. If I go down, everyone goes down with me. The chaos echoed from outside, a reminder of looming consequences. So that makes you a coward, she spat back. Hiding behind your power when it's slipping through your fingers. At that moment, a loud crash reverberated through the halls, sending faint tremors underfoot. Do you hear that? People are suffering because of you. She motioned towards the door, choking back the urgency coursing through her. You can change this. You can still make it right. His face twisted. And what? Surrender to you? You think you're in control? Lena took a bold step forward, eyes blazing with fierce clarity. No, I'm showing you the way out. The truth won T, just set me free, it can save you. Your legacy doesn't T have to die in the fire of your greed. For a moment, she swore silence flooded the space. The chaos outside muted as if the world held its breath. David's expression shifted, the rage dimming, something darker flickering beneath the surface. But it was an invitation she didn't want to waste. Help us, she urged, taking another step. Or the explosion will take everything with it, and you know I'm right. For the first time, Lena felt like she had the upper hand, the tassels of power swinging in her direction. Stop threatening me. Lena, he breathed, anger bubbling to the surface once more, but there was uncertainty there too, struggling, wavering. The rest of the board members filled the frame of the doorway, uncertainty clouding their faces, caught between chaos and intrigue. David's eyes flickered back to the men and women now witnessing his unraveling. Leave. He snapped at them, the uncertainty giving way to desperate demand as they hushed, unsure of how to act. This could be at the precipice. Mark, show them the evidence, she commanded with alarming clarity. Wait, David shouted, his voice fraying on the edges. Mark stepped forward, a folder clutched tightly in his hands. You need to see this. It's bigger than any of us. He thrust the folder out toward the gathered crowd, and hesitance draped itself over the group as the overture of confrontation hovered just above. Lena held her breath, time warping his eyes. Glued to the unfolding drama, she saw the recognition begin to settle and questions emerging, brows furrowing. Were they beginning to see him for who he truly was? I'll destroy you all, David hissed, rage blurring the edges of his sanity. You'll regret this. But the tide was shifting. One board member, a woman who had stayed silent, spoke up now, voice trembling but resolute. David, if this is true, we can't ignore the evidence. You've put us all at risk. A ripple of agreement moved through the ranks. Lena's heart soared despite the fear coursing through her. It was happening, his facade was crumbling, and she sensed that the walls he'd built around himself were beginning to fracture, one brick at a time. You think this is over? He spat, eyes darting furiously wild. You have no idea what I can still do. But, as desperation twisted his features, Lena met his gaze unflinchingly. You've already lost, David. You can try and fight this, but the world is watching now. You're not in control anymore. With that, the fraught silence shattered as screams erupted from outside, the urgent thrum of first responders drowning out the stillness. The chaos had arrived, but Lena knew it wasn't just chaos. This was the reckoning they had all been expecting. David's expression flickered between fear and rage as the gravity of his spiraling world settled in. You'll regret ever crossing me, he warned, pointing a shaking finger at her right before bursting through the door, fully ready to unleash the darkness inside him. Mark moved to follow, but Lena caught his arm. No, wait. David's hand grabbed the first man he saw, dragging him back, eyes wild and frantic. You think you can just destroy everything I am? The man's terrified gasp was like a bell tolling loudly into the night. No, Lena yelled, rushing forward, determination igniting her every fiber. You can stop. You can build back, change who you are instead of letting those lies dictate your future. He stilled, caught between the old world that crumbled and this new vision of redemption. The air was thick, like fog hanging over their heads, but in that haze, she saw something shift in him. The facade of the powerful CEO, fracturing point one moment, held them captive, every second ringing with uncertainty. Would he surrender? Would he choose to realize the gravity of what he held before him, or would he tear them all apart in his blind rage? In the blur of chaos, Lena closed her eyes, desperately hoping that the man she once knew could resurface through the rubble, the part of him that once believed in love and loyalty, rather than darkness and deceit. And then, as uncertainty spun around them like a tornado, everything hung in balance. Her heart pounded the truth into her veins. She needed to fight, not just for herself, but for everyone caught in the web of David's carefully orchestrated lies. This was either the final act of horror or a chance for redemption. Make a choice, she yelled, her voice ringing clear above the chaos. Your future is in your hands. Choose wisely. As she stood there, fear and resolve buzzing against her skin, one thing lingered. The truth was finally ready to unveil itself, and all she could do was hope he'd finally be ready to see it. In that charged moment, everything could change, and Lena couldn't afford to lose her grip on the last sliver of hope. So, she took a deep breath, firm in her belief that sometimes, from the darkest nights, a new dawn could rise, even if they had to battle through the chaos together to get there. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next chapter of this gripping saga. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this shocking finale. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this explosive conclusion. Let's keep this journey alive together.